You miss me? I miss all of y'all. All y'all girls standing together like that. I can't take it.
I have three brief stories that I think all have to do with, ultimately, vulnerability leads to connection. Now, when you think about vulnerability, though, I don't want you to think in terms of vulnerability. When we hear that word, we usually go to, oh, that means intimacy, or that means crying. That's not the only form of vulnerability. Actually, vulnerability is any experience or state of being in which you are acknowledging and allowing uncertainty. That's amazing. So I was on the subway in New York, and I was kind of not paying attention. I don't know what was happening, and I was leaning up against the subway doors, and we came to the stop, and I was not there. And the doors opened, and I fell out, okay? And I had on my backpack, and I probably looked like a crazy tourist. And like, of course, I didn't fall, but like it was quite dramatic, and I jumped back in, and thank God nobody was in that subway tram. Well, I mean, maybe somebody further up. However, I also understood it as a point of understanding that was a vulnerable moment. Well, here's the thing. I got back on and the subway doors shut, and had there been another person there who had witnessed that aspect of failing, epic failure of being human, what do we generally do? We shut out the possibility that vulnerability leads to connection. We generally would have put on our iPhones, pretended it didn't happen, acted like we got a really important text, right? Looked down. And the amazing thing is, had somebody been there, I would not have done that, probably. I probably would have acknowledged, well, this is weird, right? And then this is the amazing thing, is if you're open to that, and if another person is witnessing it and open to somebody creating a possibility for connection, then it is worlds open. I don't know, there's 10,000 permutations of possibility that can happen when you're open to connection. So had somebody been there and, I don't know, that person could have talked to me and said, oh my God, that happened to me last week. And really? Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not a tourist, but I'm from Indiana. Oh, I'm from Indiana too. Oh, really? What part? LaPorte? Oh, I'm from LaPorte. Oh my God, are you gay or straight? I'm gay. Let's get married. Possibilities everywhere. But we go inward. We close out possibility. You close out possibility. So here's another example. So that was the first thing, and I discovered, wow, vulnerability is really trying to ask us to stay more connected. And the universe is this amazing, beautiful, I think, way shower to try to get us to get out of here. Look at people. You got to get out of this part, because this part is what's keeping you from actually getting activated in the world. So that was my first example. And then another example is I got on the elevator at my hotel, and it was like many floors. There were like 30 floors or whatever, and I got on one morning, and I walked in, and there was this older couple, like obviously from Ohio or somewhere, I don't know. They definitely, listen, I'm from the Midwest, so I can say that. So, and I came in and I was like, good morning. And they were having none of me. And the woman especially was upset about something. And then as we went down all the floors, the elevator had this weird mind of its own, and it was just randomly stopping on floors. Just like opening, but nobody was there, and closing. And this woman was like, oh, and I mean, she was really getting upset. And now, I sound like I'm judging, I kind of was, but I'm not using it as an observation, just observing. And I was like, oh, shit. Look at what happens to us. So again, this is an opportunity. It's all awareness-based. So I might have done the same thing. I don't know, my last story, I did have the same experience. But so here I am watching what's happening, and the doors are opening, and she's getting very upset and getting very flustered and audibly sighing, and the energy around in that elevator was changing. By the time we got down to the bottom floor and she walked off, you could tell that that had set the tone for her day. Now, I'm not judging about it, because we all misstep in that way, right? And if we're not mindful or not awake enough to be cognizant of, well, what's that really about, then it sets the tone for the day, and then you discover that you're acting out of something that's really quite innocuous, that you can't really get your fingers on. And sometimes that's important because that also ultimately can give you awareness if you start to snap at your friends or your lovers or whatever later on in the day and you realize, like, well, that's not what that's really about. But I think that the important thing is, in the moment, how do we have insight about what's going on? So that woman could have been like, oh, her husband was right there, he didn't say anything the whole trip down. So she could have been like, oh, honey, I'm getting really upset about this elevator. And he could have been like, well, this is good that you're expressing your feelings. Well, why is this good? Well, you know, in acting terms, this is about getting engaged in your emotional instrument. Well, I'm not an actor. Well, it's okay, because actually just having insight about what's upsetting for you can change what's upsetting for you. Yes, but I feel like we should be down at the bottom by now. Well, actually, instead of thinking about life in terms of shoulds, why don't we just accept where we are? Oh, that's a novel idea. Acceptance where we are. Yes, we're almost at the bottom. Why don't we just enjoy the ride? Ding! Oh my gosh, we're at the bottom, and actually, all those elevator doors opening only took an additional 30 seconds of time. See what I'm saying? But when you get stuck on a closed system, which is actually mindlessness, which is what I lectured on this past week. Mindlessness keeps you from seeing possibility. So you see in restriction. You only see one point of view, and that's yours. So the distinction is just being a little bit more mindful of opening up to, oh, what does this have to teach me? Then this last story, which happened to me, and here I am teaching it. Look, I fail miserably all the time, but it is all awareness-based. So the other day, I'm having these shades put into my house, and I don't know why, the woman called me or something, and I just was kind of like, I don't know, having none of it for some reason. And it had nothing to do with that, or maybe it did. And it wasn't like I was like a jerk to her on the phone, but I was definitely like, So I was like, oh God. I was very like, just the facts, right? Afterwards, and I could definitely feel that she was receiving what was going on. That poor woman, she did not sign up for me being that. I hung up and I realized, well, okay, great insight, great awareness. I was letting something that affected me from something else, not being present and mindful of what's really happening in this situation with this person. And also, if we want to be radically honest, also being okay to say, oh, you know what, this has nothing to do with you. Sorry, I've had a really hard morning. Oh, well, that's okay. I'm in customer service. I'm here to serve you. You see, again, possibility is always right around the corner. Oh, really, you're in customer service, so you probably deal with people getting upset all the time. Actually, I do. You know what, I have a good remedy for that. How about meditation? I actually meditate all the time. Well, what kind of meditation do you do? Well, I do Vipassana. What do you see what I'm saying? So all of a sudden, you get information. You connect to the universe trying to give you information to get out of your way. But we don't do that. I didn't do that. And then I hung up thinking, in that tiny minute conversation with another human being, I did not leave that person feeling better. Her. I knew I had a responsibility to allow that person to not take on my stuff. So I left that conversation with her not being uplifted, or maybe feeling good about her job, or maybe feeling like she's being in service. See, this is getting me really upset now. So instead, my shit was projected onto her, and she was just doing her job. That's okay. It's all awareness, people. I don't have it mastered even though I teach it. But can you imagine what our worlds would be like if we just had slowed down and just had a little bit more aha around how we engage in the world? It would really be magical.